Hello everyone and welcome to Blah Blah and Everything, and welcome back to the channel. And this time around it's to a defeat because after a 5-match winning streak that started in October and extended into November, FC Barcelona once again suffered defeat, this time away to Real Sociedad at Anoeta. 1-0. The goal scored pretty mid-early-ish in the first half. Sheraldo Becker with what was, honestly speaking, pretty neat finish. And if I'm to be completely honest, could have been more goals than this one for Sociedad. Oyarzábal in particular was guilty of some profligate finishing, but at the end of the day they didn't need him to be on point because Barcelona's attack was nowhere to be found. Really. I wanted to say all over the place, and that would mean they were actually showing up, but nah, Barcelona's attack was just nowhere to be found. Completely off the radar here was Rafinha and Lewandowski, and of course Fermin Lopez was probably the most effective of that front three. You know, him coming in for Lamine Yamal, who of course was not available for Barca. And look, if I wanted to be lazy, that's probably where I could stop, right? I'll just say this happened because Lamine Yamal was not available, but it's a bit more than that. I think for the first time this season we've really seen Hansi Flick get outsmarted, and in a clear way, by the opposition coach. You could argue that Monaco did the similar thing, but this time around I thought it was a bit more clear in the favor of Emmanuel. Still here, he had the better game plan, executed to perfection, and funny enough, he did actually kind of do to Barcelona what Barca did to Real Madrid earlier on, compacting the pitch, forcing Barca to go long so many times. And Lewandowski today was just not winning those duels very often. Only once or twice did he get the better of Real Sociedad's centre backs, and that meant Barcelona couldn't hold on to the ball, couldn't really build any sort of attack. And without a Lamine Yamal profile kind of player on the pitch, they really couldn't pose much of a threat to Sociedad, because that's basically what Sociedad were forcing Barca to do: play long and try to hit the wings. And today, I should say in particular, was probably the worst performance we've seen from Rafinha in a very long time. And couple that, like I said, with the absence of Lamine Yamal, and you begin to see really a huge problem. And I did think that the introduction of Dani Olmo would switch things up a little bit for Barca, because in that first half, it did feel like there were some pockets Pedro was getting into where Dani Olmo would have probably been a bit more of a threat. But funny enough, once Dani Olmo came on the pitch, he just wasn't able to find those pockets the way that Pedro was. And, it ended up being a case really here of Barcelona's midfield being completely overrun. They didn't win as many duels as they usually do. And the pressing just all around from Sociedad from minute 1 to the end of the match was pretty good. And at the end of the day, when you put all those factors together, it comes to this Barcelona loss. Now, I do have one, slight bit of criticism in this case for Hansi Flick, because he did himself say pre-match that Lamine wasn't going to play, and the reason why he wasn't going to play was because of an overload. So they suspected that he has had an overload and some discomfort in the ankle, or was it the muscle? I've forgotten which one of the two it was. So my only question is, if really this was the case, then why was Lamine Yamal playing so many 90 minutes, in the past 3 or 4 weeks? Why did he play so many 90 minutes, even when the matches were already won? Just the most recent game against Red Star Belgrade, he played the entire of it, and he really shouldn't have. Could have been hooked off earlier, should have been hooked off earlier. And the same goes as well for the other matches Barcelona played this season. And so I guess for the rest of the season, Hansi Flick's top job is going to be making sure Lamine Yamal is fit and available to at least feature for 70 minutes in the rest of Barcelona's fixtures. So I don't know how he's going to accomplish it. Maybe Barcelona this January will have to dip into the transfer market to look at, profiles that are more like Yamal's. We've seen We've heard links with guys like Rafael, Nico Williams, and personally, I think those might be a bit too costly for Barca, since we know that Barca won't be back to the one-to-one, even with this Nike deal that's been announced. So, I mean, personally, I think why not go for somebody like Zagrova at Lille? You know, he has a pretty interesting profile as well. Of course, he plays down the right, just like Lamine, but that's good. You know, you need to give Lamine rest every now and then. And if you can bring in a guy who's going to be at a very decent level to complement him, you know, to give him some rest, then why not do that? And besides, I'm pretty sure he's versatile enough to play down the left. Also, I'm just concluding in my mind. But, you know, Laporta will most likely want a marquee signing, so it's going to be most likely Rafael Leao's name we'll see a lot of. But I don't know if he can be signed in January though, so there's that as well. So we'll see what Barcelona are going to do. But for now, it's into the international break. Unfortunately, it's on a disappointing note with this loss, and we'll have to wait now for, you know, a couple of weeks to see Barcelona come back again, and hopefully we can stay free of injuries in this international break like we did in the last one. But otherwise, I would say it was a pretty poor performance from Barca, probably our worst of the season. Yeah, even worse than the one against Osasuna, because at least against Osasuna we were still creating chances, you know, those chances to score. This time around, aside from that Lewandowski offside and one chance that Fermin uncharacteristically just like blasted over the bar, there was nothing. There was nothing Barca was doing. So hopefully we're not going to see more of this when we come back after the international break. But until then, I thank you all for tuning in. To have a great day, and Forza Barca.